boots.
Level up, Ben.
These 3-inchers look like babies on top of something like that. Maybe one of these days we'll launch one of these on the
Aisles and aisles of stuff that we stack in here. I can have 10,000 pounds of powder in each location.
Okay. What is the weight on these? Holy crap. All right, guys. So we are headed down to Muncie, Indiana for CobraCon, and we did a little detour, little thing here. Ben and I were down at NFA, and we saw some product that was really, really awesome that we had to try. And that came from Wisley's Pyrotechnics down here in Bedford, Indiana. And so we took a little detour, and we just arrived at Wisley's here in Bedford. And we are super excited because they are going to not only give us a tour of the property, but they're going to give us a tour of the warehouse and kind of where they store everything. So super excited, never been here before. The product was spectacular. So again, very excited to meet these guys, see the place, see how they work. Just every operation's a little different, and get to see their product eventually here this summer. So let's get inside and let's meet them and show you guys around. That's a cool grill. Okay. Malia.
Hi.
Here's some rice.
How you doing?
Good.
Good.
Nice to meet you. So this is the place.
It is. So we've got the boss right here.
Got the boss, there he is.
Lieutenant Boots.
Lieutenant Boots. Basket cat, huh?
Yes, definitely.
He's absolutely in heaven, huh? So he is kind of what the product lines are named after a little bit.
Yes. So our 1-4 product line is Lieutenant Boots. Then when he gets promotion, he's Captain Boots, and that's our 1-4 Pro. Then for the 1-3 line, he is General Boots.
Okay.
He's even got his own business cards.
He's got his own cards.
Yep.
Check
He has
this
his own
out.
t-shirts.
Oh, that's cute. Okay. Has his own t-shirts even.
And keychains. I mean, he's, very marketable cat.
Very. Seems like a sweetheart.
So, well, he's a jerk.
Most cats kind of
So,
are.
yes.
Their personality.
Right.
Yes.
So, I'll introduce you. This is Josh. He's the owner here.
Josh. Nice to meet you, sir. Good to meet you, sir. So, this is Wisley's. I mean, what do you guys do here?
We are 1.3, 1.4, and 1.4 Pro importer.
Okay.
So we're a wholesale company. We do a few displays throughout the year, but mostly just for our pound show and things like that. We don't advertise shows. We don't be competition to our customers.
Okay.
But yeah, mostly we're a wholesaler for fireworks.
Okay. That's cool. So, you guys do carry 1-4, so typical consumer you ship out
Yes.
as far as anybody can order wholesale.
Correct. Yep. Anybody can order wholesale. We have shipping options for the 1.4, the 1.4 Pro, and 1.3. 1.3 is just a little bit more expensive.
For sure.
But yeah, we definitely have shipping options for all of those things. Some people have to show up the day of their show.
Yep.
Some people are going straight to their storage, things like that. But yes, we have shipping options for all, or you can come here and get it.
Awesome. Okay. So, that's the cool thing is it's kind of a one-stop shop here.
Yes.
Whether you're doing something out of your backyard, or even if you are doing something out of your backyard and you shoot show, if you want, you've got a new product in that you guys are carrying, whatever, you can get it all right here and ship it to you. So that's really good.
Yeah, and we carry a pretty full inventory year round.
Okay.
We do get more stuff in the spring, obviously, than most time, but we restock again in the early fall. So pretty much year round for those people who are doing weddings and New Year's shows, things like that. We pretty much carry stuff year round. Now we'll run a little short on some of the larger shells. Maybe we get hit pretty hard on. Our 8-inch shells are second to none. We have amazing 8-inch shells.
Okay.
So we do get hit pretty hard on those, but everything else we pretty much stock year round.
Nice. And what size do you go up to in 1-3?
We go up to 12. We can get 16s, but haven't found. There are a few brands domestically that you can get 16, which all 16s come domestically, I should say. But we've got a couple of companies that we do business with, one in Wisconsin and one over in Missouri.
Okay.
They're just hammered. They get a lot of trouble getting us shells on that size.
16s they're tough money to get your hands on. They're not the cheapest thing.
Yep.
So
And then there are a couple other companies that do them in the U.S. Not overly pleased with their quality sometimes. So we are a little short when it comes to 16 sometimes. But 12 inch we pretty much carry out.
So a little pickier on where you get the 16s from in order to maintain quality.
Absolutely.
And not just being able to offer a 16, you take whatever you can get.
Right.
So, that's awesome.
Yep.
Cool. That's cool. So how long have you guys been doing this for?
We opened up the Pyrotechnics wholesale part in 2018 would have been our first full year.
Okay.
We started moving product and magazines and stuff here to the property in 2017. 2018 was definitely our first full year through the season.
So I would say you guys have kind of expanded out a little quickly. I mean, sometimes you hear of a company that you maybe haven't heard of a lot before,
Right.
but then you realize they've been around for 30 years and they're finally getting to be more popular. 2018 really wasn't that long ago.
No,
So
it's about our 8th year. So we've worked really hard to kind of get our name out there and do a little more branding. You saw us at the NFA this last year. Got a big booth there with the Army truck and all that stuff.
dude, that was cool. I will say that booth, for all the awesome booths that were there, that Army truck really stuck out. That was cool.
So yeah, we were going for something that people would kind of remember.
For sure.
So we are kind of in the middle of branding. We always try to ask people, how'd you hear of us? And the majority of time it's just word of mouth. Some people are starting to see us on social media and stuff a little bit more.
Yep.
But the majority of our customers that we have in here say, well, I didn't know you were here. I was like, so, how do we change that? Because we are, all firework companies, any pyrotechnics, all that stuff is up against the challenge with Google ads and everything to where you're going to get shut down if you say the wrong words on there.
Facebook is not friendly.
It's
Email is not friendly at all.
So we can't say anything about selling. We can't say anything about, fireworks. So it's hard to get your name out there, but it's mostly word of mouth, and that's why we're, really pushing the last couple of years, and we'll continue. We're definitely this year we're trying to be at more of the booths and the conventions and things like that, just to kind of get our name out there, because it's hard.
Well, it's a tough market, and it's not something that everybody loves fire, but it's super seasonal unless you're within the industry.
Right.
And people aren't constantly looking up on an app, where's the nearest Walmart, where's the nearest store of this, that, right? They don't do that except for once a year in that state. So it definitely is challenging when it comes to marketing. I know even with what we do with Pegasus and our retail stands, marketing is difficult. Of where do you start to get your name out there to your potential customer base? Because it doesn't just pay to throw it on the radio sometimes.
Right.
Because the average person isn't looking for that on a daily basis.
Right.
So.
Well, and since there's not tons of wholesalers, if you're in the firework world, there's plenty of us.
Yeah.
But if you're just getting into it, there's not, compared to other industries, there's not tons of us out there. So you get somebody who's done business with a company, when they get online, they go straight to that website. It's not very often that people are just doing searches looking for wholesalers, so they don't find you as quickly, it seems like. So,
For sure.
So getting your name out there, even on the web presence, is important. But again, you get blocked all the time. So.
For sure. And I think one thing that really stifles, and I've had discussions with other wholesalers about this, and this was actually something that I liked about your guys' website, was the fact that the price was the price. Don't get me wrong, everybody loves tier pricing, everybody loves feeling like they're getting a discount. Not every company does this, but you see a lot where companies jack the price up and then they offer tier prices. And all it does is make it feel good, right? And so your guys' website, the price was just the price. It didn't matter how much you spent or not, as long as it's the minimum.
Right.
And I think that's what also kind of keeps people hooked, going back to the individual company that they've been buying from for 5 or 10 years, is because they say, well, I'm on the tier pricing, so I'm spending $20,000, so I get that tier pricing, but my entire budget's $30,000 for the show, or $50,000 that I have, right? Whatever it may be. That may not allow them to get to the tier pricing in multiple different companies,
Right.
so they stick with that company.
Sure.
To where you just get what you're going to get. You don't have to play the game or anything. You log in. This is the product. This is what we're offering. This is the price, and it doesn't matter who you are. And I thought that was unique and kind of cool in its own right.
We did that originally just trying to be fair to everyone. Because, the bulk of our customers are the small guys. And for you to come in here and feel like you're getting the shaft because, you're not getting that tier pricing and stuff because you couldn't make it that high, like you were saying, on how much you spend, we didn't really feel like that was fair. And it also adds a lot of pressure to those of us who work here when you're dealing with that stuff of, well, how much discount do I give for this, and can I knock money off of this? You know, and it's much easier just to say, that's our price.
And this is
So, and we do a little better on, you know, price. When you're dealing with people that do stands and stuff, we do have a higher end volume discount.
Mm-hmm.
We do offer some of that stuff, but for the most part, it's pretty much what you see. Yeah. So
that's cool. That's cool. And always remembering the little guy, I think, is huge, because yes, you can make a lot of money on the big guys. Yes, that's clear. But in the end, the little guys keep doors open.
I was a little guy for years.
Yes. Yeah.
So absolutely, and that is the bulk of our customers.
We all started as little guys, right?
Yep.
And I always said, even in the bar industry, you know, you had customers, they would come in, and a couple times a week they'd have 1 or 2 beers, and it was, you realize that those people were just as important as the ones that had $200 tabs once a month. Right? It takes everybody to make the business grow, and so that's awesome that you guys had that mentality going into it. To not forget about the little guys. So.
And we also find that the little guys are the loyal ones.
For sure.
And really, once they get in here, I think we've got exceptional customer service, and that's what we strive for. We are a family-owned company. You know, we're small, and we like to take care of people. We like to spend time with people and actually get to know who they are. And we find once we do that, they typically always come back. So
you can never go wrong with customer service. And I will say something very nice. I called you guys. I got an answer right away.
Yeah.
Like somebody picked the phone up. You know how many times? It doesn't matter what industry, but like when, you know, New Year's, we were looking for 16s. I called a lot of companies, and it was off season, could not get a hold of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, like daily, calling them, weekly, could not get a hold of people. And
Well,
I called you guys up, and right away had a phone call. No Chantel worked right away, got emails, responses, everything was immediate. And that's huge in any industry, but especially in the industry you're in.
Well, and I will say, when you call our main number, if you press 1 or 2, you know, the different people that you're pressing to get, it goes straight to our cell phone.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter if we're here, it doesn't matter if we're out, it goes to our cell phone, and we realize, you know, that doesn't always work out well in winter for us, but during the busy season, we know there's times that people need to get hold of us.
For sure. Well, that's cool. Well, you have some product for me.
Absolutely.
Picked up, and then you guys said you were going to show us around a little bit.
So you're around, see
we are
our
very
house, see how we
excited.
store stuff.
Yeah, we're excited to see it and show everybody kind of the inner workings of a wholesale place like this. So.
Okay, let's take a look.
So here in their entryway, check this out. We want 16s, 30-inch. I mean, that is just, these 3-inchers look like babies on top of something like that. You imagine, maybe one of these days we'll launch one of these on New Year's. That is like 30 inches. All right, so we're going out to tour the place. We're going to be in the side-by-sides. We gave some t-shirts, so can't wait to rep these. Never really filmed from a side-by-side, so we're going to make this work and just see how this goes.
Got it?
Yeah, we were just looking for new container locations the other day, and we got quite muddy due to all the water leaks.
I love all the mud on it. That's when you had fun.
It might not all be mud, so don't. Pretty sure that was cow.
Yeah.
So this is the office right here, and then this is this storage of
That's
over here.
It's our main office here, and then of course this main area here is just basically a mechanic shop. It's where we work on our equipment and stuff.
Okay.
The next section over there, before you get to the garage door, that's our wood shop where we build all of our racks and things like that.
Okay.
And then where the garage door there is, that's our shipping room. We've got a pallet wrapping machine and stuff in there.
Okay.
Of course, the rest of it's just fun stuff. We got the deuce and a half that was at the NFA down there, which we're keeping.
They drove that in the building, and that was part of their booth setup.
Yeah, so that's what Malia would tell you, that's what vehicle.
Boots gets it all.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, sounds like this cat pretty well has it made.
He's a piece of crap, but we're there.
So you said racks. Particular 1-3 racks, 1-4 racks. What do you?
We built up to this point. We've just simply built 1-3 racks.
Okay.
We do just for the fiberglass tubes and stuff that we do. We try to build some with 4 seats and finale racks, and we do straight row 10-shot racks and things. Basically, we will custom build anything that difference in the 1.3 explosives obviously is ATF regulated. According to the fireworks chart for the ATF, you can have, depending on where your road locations and things are like that, but where we're at out here, I can have 10,000 pounds of powder, not just overall weight. I can have 10,000 pounds of powder in each location.
Okay.
So a location would be every 200 feet. So if I can't go above 10,000 pounds of powder, I have to move 200 feet. I can set another magazine and I can have another 10,000 pounds.
Okay.
So what you'll see here is, for instance, these two blue ones, those are capable of, I mean, I could put 4 of them there, but I still can't exceed 10,000 pounds of powder.
Yes.
So when you're dealing with cakes and things like that are a lot less powder weight, we might need more volume than what we need capacity.
Okay.
So
then 4 containers could hold the volume of 10,000 pounds of powder.
Correct.
Where if it's shells that are a lot heavier, a lot denser.
if it's shells, I can do 10,000 pounds in half of one of those.
Okay.
So if I go straight shells in it, and then it also gives us a little more room just for organization, things like that. So that's what you're seeing here is I can get 10,000 pounds there. There's back in the field back there. And you see all our firewood here for the shops. But back in the field there, when you can see it, or in the woods, we've got 10,000 pounds that can go back there, and that's each location that's down through here, and then we've spread out over here for this part.
Okay.
But then when you get into the consumer stuff, they don't fall into the regulations of the 1.3. So then I can house those in a building and such things, but they also don't count as the setbacks because one is federally regulated, the other is state regulated.
So which one is federal? So, and that's what I was going to ask. Now, the 1.3, that's federally regulated. That does not matter the state you're in. Those laws apply. They're identically the same.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean that your state hasn't come through. For instance, Illinois is a little bit different. The state can go ahead and put some rules and regulations on actually you as a licensed explosives person.
Yep.
They still can't change the rules and regulations of what the ATF says about those shells, what you can have, how they have to be logged in and out, things like that.
Okay.
So the state can change a few things.
Or make it stricter?
They can make
But
it
they cannot
stricter.
make it
They
lighter.
cannot lighten it up.
Okay.
But then when you get into the consumer grade stuff, then you're just dealing with the state fire marshal and stuff on the state level.
Okay.
ATF has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
So they'll pretty much stay out of that completely.
And so what are we pulling up to here?
So this is the main building. It's not near where all of our fireworks are for the 1.4, but a lot of our consumer line for Winda and Wild Dragon, BT Sky and Space Ranger, those things, a lot of that is organized in here.
Okay.
We've got an upstairs in here as well that has more product in it, and that'll be all of our fiberglass tubes, which is used for either the 1 3/4 inch, which you're used to using for the consumer stuff, you'll see upstairs, and then all of our larger fiberglass mortars for the 1.3 are upstairs as well.
Okay.
So we do some organizing and stuff in here. This would be like when we have large consumer orders for a stand or something, we will house that in here, kind of pull it all out here in the front. We would do a lot of that here. Now, most of our articles and stuff, you'll see a few of the Article Pyrotechnics Pro line. A few of those are in here. Most of those we keep in magazines around here, and you'll see those when we go on to the next spot.
Okay.
So in this building, we don't have any power, lights, anything in here that keeps us from having to worry about regulations with that. We've just got lights up there.
Okay. Which makes sense. I mean, that's power. That changes the dynamics of everything.
You're allowed to have power in the 1.4 storage areas, but you can't in the 1.3.
Okay.
So, but yeah, most of this is just staging type stuff. You can see where we've had stuff from some stands and stuff that we've had that kind of got returned here, where it's broken case stuff that we'll kind of work through as far as inventory and stuff goes. But for the most part, we've just got aisles and aisles of stuff that we stack in here. And you'll see up top here, we've got a lot of the Wizard Pro line and things up here. So that's all it is. It's just a warehouse.
You guys do carry quite a bit of inventory. So somebody would have the peace of mind that if they do want to regularly be a customer, they have access to that inventory rather regularly versus somebody who doesn't carry as much inventory.
Yes. Yep. We carry most all this stuff year round.
Okay.
So.
I love you guys got the stickers on him.
Yeah. So that's one of the Article Pro lines as well. Now, you'll also notice on the Pro line and Articles, you're not allowed to have colorful wrappers.
Yep.
And they do that just because, like I was saying in the office, the Pro line and the Articles were really produced not so much for consumers, but for people that had possibly their 1.3 license or display people that were having issues with storage, things like that. So they came out with the Article Pyrotechnics and the Pro just to help get around some of that. So they don't put the colorful wrappers on stuff as much because they don't want it to be as appealing to consumers.
Or it's easy to throw on a
right,
shelf.
we don't want somebody getting hurt.
For sure.
So that's really the reason behind that. But
That's interesting you bring that up because a lot of people don't know the history behind the 1.4 Pro as to why that really came around. It did not come around because consumers wanted a heavier loaded product. It was made more for displays.
absolutely.
And then some guys that were in the consumer making backyard shows went into the 1.4 Pro stuff, but it was not made for them originally. It was made for displays and making the regulations easier.
Right. And as they started to recognize that a lot of the backyard guys were getting into the Cobra systems and the Ignite and the firing systems and stuff to where they could do this a little bit safer without having to hand light everything.
For sure.
Then they started putting the E-ports on the Pro line stuff to make that a little bit safer. So it's a hotter cake, but at the same time it is safer. And we offer multiple times throughout the year, we offer the safety training course.
Okay.
APA puts those on as well. But we do that 4 to 5 times a year, and that's what allows you to get the Pro line and everything. But it's a good safety course. And
I do actually want to say this. I highly recommend actually taking the course. I know there are some people that offer an online deal.
Right.
And really this product operates entirely different than a traditional style firework.
It does.
And you have to have a firing system. This is not something you just grab and you're just going to go hit with a torch. And so, but it offers tremendous differences and things you can really enhance your shows, and it's a great product. But definitely take the actual course if it's not something you have experience in.
Even that, our guys take it here every couple of years. It's an excellent reminder because as much as we deal with all this stuff, and as much as I'm sure you do in the display world stuff, it's easy to forget what you're dealing with.
For sure.
The not sliding stuff on the floor because of static, and the proper tooling to use, and not using sparking knives and things like that. It's easy to forget that what I've got in my hands could kill me.
For sure. And I mean, I will even admit this. I have videos of, myself having used, in the past, having used things such as knives that could spark, right? And with time, we all grow, we all learn. But this is how we learn, is coming, talking to people, going to events, going to these safety courses, and learning better ways to do things to ensure safety. Because the truth is, we all love this industry. We all want to keep it going. But if dumb stuff keeps happening because we're using poor practices, it's going to cause more bans and less usage for people to utilize this stuff, right? So I definitely would agree with that statement that we should all do our best to learn better ways to handle things that could kill you at the drop of a hat.
Well, learning the hard way in fireworks doesn't usually work out.
No, it doesn't.
You want to run upstairs? We'll see what we got
Yeah.
there.
So what brands do you all carry in the 1.4 world?
1.4, we carry, we've got our house label brands that we carry. We carry, now you're talking just 1.4 or 1.4 Pro as
Just
well?
1.4, and then we can go into 1.4 Pro.
Okay, in 1.4 regular, we carry Winda and Bright Star.
Okay.
We also carry, like I said, our house label, and we've got T-Sky and Space Ranger.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so those are the brands we stuck with. We're expanding. We're having some talks with Dominator.
Yep.
And also with Raccoon.
Okay.
But that's not something we've expanded to, and we've also got to consider storage space.
For sure.
But yeah. And then in the Pro line,
Which I see some Wizard right here.
yes, we've got the Wizard Pro, and we carry mostly our house label in the Pro line stuff because we're producing it as the article.
Okay.
So we carry a lot of our house label. That's what we prefer to carry in that.
Okay.
So, yeah, this
Completely off topic. Those slabs are beautiful.
they're splitting a little more than I would like them to split.
Unfortunately, yep.
Yes,
That
but
you could do something
We
with
do
those.
a lot of epoxy tables and river tables and stuff. So,
That's cool. That's really
yeah.
cool. So back on. So these are some of your racks. Are these racks you guys make yourselves?
We do build these. Yes.
Okay, so these are clearly 1.3 racks.
Right.
And then this would be a standard
That's some of the.
1.75.
It is. We've got those in 28 shot racks and 10 shot racks. Now those are ones that we bring in from China.
Okay.
And then we sell the tubes loose as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, we produce some of the stuff like that, and then we've got regular straight shot racks, and we've got some fan racks and things like
Okay.
that. But I mean, that's not that's not our business. That's
Yeah.
just, we do it in our spare time in the winter. It gives us a good reason to be in the wood shop.
Okay, for sure.
But yeah, then if you want to walk on back here, you can see
Here's the big guns.
yeah, we don't use the HDPE tubes. I know a lot of people do use those.
Yep.
But this is just our stock for the fiberglass tubes. We carry those over here all the way up to a 12-inch.
All the way up to 12. Okay. So, is there any particular reason why you don't carry HDPE, or you
Not
do like
necessarily.
fiberglass?
For the hand lighting and stuff, the fiberglass is supposed to be more rated for reloads.
Okay.
And when we end up dealing with a lot of people that are doing hand reloads, things like that, and that's not something we don't necessarily even recommend that, but it happens. A lot of people do it.
You see a lot of local fire
Yes.
departments do stuff like
Yeah,
that.
so the fiberglass tubes are better for, or I should say they're good for more times of reload within a 30-minute segment.
Okay.
Whereas the HDPE is only supposed to be fired once.
Yep, okay.
So if you're doing a hand reload or something like that, those HDPE tubes heat up so much faster. Don't get me wrong, they're great tubes. It's a good cost-efficient way to do
Yep.
your tubing. But that's why we've always stuck with the fiberglass.
Okay.
So
I like the. That is a big gun.
yeah, have you ever picked up one of the 12s?
Not one of the fiberglass ones.
The fiberglass 12s, yeah, those.
Of course, they got the cement.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, they're
What are they? 75.
they're substantial. They're about 90 pounds.
90 pounds. Yeah.
Depending on how thick they got the concrete in the bottom of it.
For sure.
Hit or miss from China.
That's cool.
That was Chris calling, by the way.
I figured he'd be calling.
So those are Hemis. We also do. We don't carry a whole lot of stuff for production, but those are. Let me step around there.
Oh, I see now.
Let me step around here. There, so I think I got some open over here. So this is going to be an 8-inch Hemi. This is actually what a manufacturer would use to build the shells out of.
Okay.
They're going to produce those both ways, and then they're going to put them together, and they're going to use what's called a wasp machine. And the wasp machine goes on there. It's what wraps all the paper and taping and everything around
And
it.
gets it to its full diameter.
Right. So we don't carry tons of these, but we do have some manufacturing supplies in the 8-inch and the 10-inch Hemis.
Okay.
And then these are just going to be the lift cups that go on the bottom of them.
Yep.
So once they place the lift charge on there, they'll just glue this on the bottom and then tape wrap it as well.
So, I mean, you guys maybe don't, like I said, you don't carry a lot of it, but you kind of dabble in a little bit all aspects of
We do.
what needs to be offered within the pyrotechnics industry.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
So we actually got into these kind of because, back when, because Chinese, you were able to import up to 10-inch shells. And then they did away with that. Actually, they did away with the 8-inch shells even for a few years, and you could only get 6-inch shells. Then they opened the 8-inch back up again, and we're able to import 8s now, but not 10s. That overran the domestic market. They couldn't keep up with 10-inch shells and stuff. So what we were running into is they were having issues with supplies. So some of our distributors told us, well, if you can get the Hemis and the lift cups and all that stuff, then we can make more for you. And they just took it off of our bill. And then it kind of got known that we had this stuff, so then we're getting more orders and things for those.
Okay.
So
And,
it was all kind of out of necessity.
and jumping around a little bit, you'd mentioned about China putting regulations on. And jumping back to the 1.4 Pro, some of those regulations are not U.S. regulations. The difference
Correct.
between Pro and articles, that's all a Chinese thing. That's not a U.S. thing. And I don't think a lot of people know that.
Right. So in China, the regulations for what makes something 1.3 versus 1.4 actually you hit the 1.3 mark in China before you hit it in the U.S.
Okay.
So a lot of stuff that comes in 1.3 actually would be capable of being produced as 1.4 in the States. It's just not produced here, so it has to be exported from China as a 1.3.
Okay.
That's where you get into the different regulations and stuff. So yeah, for one of the few times that Chinese has a stricter regulation than what we do. So
Interesting. It's kind of cool to actually get to see the inner workings of how the correlation goes between China and U.S. in this market, because nobody sees that. It's just you just go to the stand, you buy a firework. Nobody
Right.
understands the regulatory, all that type of stuff that really goes into all of making
Right.
this happen here in the United States.
when we first got into this and stuff, you would tell somebody, well, we sell fireworks. All right. You know, they show up thinking, you know, well, you got a couple little stands. Oh, that's cool. Like there's just no, there's no imagining what actually goes into all this for the amount of fireworks and stuff that actually goes off in the U.S. each year.
For sure. All the paperwork,
crazy.
the insuranceing,
Yeah.
the regulatory from China to here.
Yes.
And then, like you said, in the side-by-side, the state-side regulation, all the paperwork that goes
Right.
into the domestic side of it, you know, we are getting into it more and learning how much it really, really entails. The business is not the 9 days you're selling.
Right.
Here's all the work
Absolutely.
is behind the scenes every single day
Absolutely.
to make all of this actually happen, just even have them exist within this building.
Right. Yeah, and you get a lot of people, you know, and you guys will hit this point as you grow, is it's, you know, it's hard for somebody to believe that you do fireworks year round. Like, well, that's because there's so much stuff that goes into, even the guys that are just doing shows, there's so much goes into, you know, we're building our racks and we're writing our programs and we're designing shows and we're thinking about fusing and safety and, you know, so there's a lot that goes into the 9 months that you're not actually hands-on.
For sure, protocols and changing up protocols. You know, you learn something every show.
Sure.
So you may implement new protocols and ways that you're going to utilize who's going to be on that show, on that site, and their job, and putting that all together. It's all prepped. It's all done before you ever get to the shoot site, right? And interesting you say that when you tell people, even friends that, you know, maybe, you know, I was in a different industry before, and you talk to them, they're like, well, that's all you do? And I'm like, I guess that's kind of all I do, but it's not quite like that.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
Yes.
So.
Cool. Well, should we see
Yeah,
some
let's
of the
go
other
take a look at
stuff?
some of the magazines.
Are you filming?
I mean, I'm rolling, yes. You can cut it wherever you want.
This is one of my favorite ring cakes. That cake slaps really hard, and it is really, and it breaks the ring every time. It may not be perfect for you to see. A very consistent cake right there. Really, really like that cake. That is a big cake. Yeah, it's a really big cake.
What's your favorite cake?
Yes.
We're gonna gift you two of them.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's open case, you can use them.
We are definitely shooting those.
Oh, yeah.
I love rings. I love rings. So we are sitting in here with Cohen. He hasn't gotten much screen time, but you are a part of this operation as well.
Yep, that's correct. Yep, I'm VP of Wisley Pyrotechnics, but I'm hopeful I'll be overseeing all the 1.4 sales eventually. So
Okay.
I need to get all the products, get familiarized with those, and get familiarized with my customers and who they are and what they're needing. But that's the goal, is to reach that superior customer service that we can offer here at Wisley Pyrotechnics. So that's what I'm working on.
Nice, nice. So this is obviously a rather large operation. How many employees do you guys have here, if you don't mind?
No, there's only 6 of us, and then we'll take on an additional 5 in the summer.
Okay.
Just as summertime help, you know, for doing our shows and pulling orders and things like that. We hire, they gotta be 18, gotta be over 18, and then it's usually college age staff, things like that.
Yep.
So we'll take on, it's usually 5, sometimes 4, but this year it's gonna be 5.
Okay.
So
Nice. And you guys are in a beautiful area out here.
it's peaceful down
quiet.
here. we can say that.
Very much so.
Nice.
Very much so.
Well, I'll run you down through.
Yeah.
You kind of see down through here. We won't go all the way because we got a tree down and stuff at the end where we took
Okay.
out. But about time to start mowing grass again.
And I'm sure we're not going to get to see the entire property, right? You guys have a big area, but because of the distances that we were talking about and everything, with the amount of product that you guys offer, you guys say, you know, you carry a lot of inventory, so you can offer year-round to everybody as they need it, whenever, even if it's off-season, right? So, like, how big of an area do you guys cover in order to house this much product?
As far as
The place.
like acreage wise,
Yeah.
well, there's about 150 acres here, but we're probably only, it's a lot of hills and hollers, and we're probably only utilizing, I want to say 25 acres of it with actual magazines and things.
Okay.
The rest of it's, you know, it's pretty steep. We couldn't put anything on it. So,
But it does definitely take some space to be able to do a project like this.
correct. Yeah, we had to take a couple trees out down here to make some more room. So we've got magazines here that go on around the corner.
Okay.
And then really, there's a road that goes back up this direction, and there's a whole nother field of them up there.
Okay.
So
But this is basically the setup. It's a cleared area, and then distances, there's more magazines, and then you have an inventory of what's in there. So when you guys go to pick product, you know exactly where you're going, what magazine, everything like that.
Yeah, the guys will get a pull sheet that'll have the magazines and stuff that we're going to.
Okay.
They'll know exactly where to go, and then once we get them all back to the office, somebody will come out of the office and they'll do a secondary check on it. The inventory and stuff's not as important on the 1.4. Obviously, it is for our purposes. We don't want to lose inventory or send the wrong stuff out to somebody.
Yep.
But when you get into the 1.3, everything is so regulated with inventory with the ATF. If we get something off, then we risk a citation and things like that on it. So we definitely do double and sometimes triple checks on what's leaving there.
Okay. Well, it's kind of interesting because everybody always thinks of fireworks. It's the pretty label. It's always the glitz and glamour of fireworks, right?
Yeah.
But really, the behind the scenes is boxes and numbers. That's all you see. That's all you do. Everybody thinks, oh, you work on fireworks. I think every day you're blowing stuff up. Like we were talking about the behind the scenes work. It's just boxes. It's boxes and numbers.
Yeah, we very seldom send stuff off here throughout the year. If we're going to do some demo, things like that, like I say, we've got one coming up, we'll notify all the neighbors and everybody that we're doing stuff. But for the most part, we don't set a whole lot of stuff off. We've got neighbors that are close. We don't want to be overwhelming to them. A lot of them got horses. We don't scare horses. So yeah, as soon as our summer staff starts, they'll come on May 12th, and then it's kind of a rush for the next few weeks after that to catch up with the place after the winter where, branches down, lots of mowing to be done, things, because, we have the regulations, again, with the ATF of how tall the grass can be next to the containers and how close trees can be and branches. And,
That all goes into it.
All goes into it. So we'll be doing a lot of that stuff over the next few weeks. We got telephone poles moved. We use those when we build our bridges around here.
Okay.
But yeah, so the next few weeks in May and stuff will just be kind of a cleanup effort, getting ready for the big push. What's coming in May, June. Season, yep.
On top of orders, you also have the incoming containers of inventory as well that you have to unpack, unload, get sorted, get it all into your system and inventory accurate, and then get it stored where it needs to go. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there.
For sure. Yeah. So, a quick question here as far as, and this I really don't even know, 1.3 has to be stored within a container, within a magazine.
Yeah, that's correct.
So how much time do they give you from the time the container gets here to get it into a qualified magazine from a container? How much time do you guys have, and how much labor does that take to transfer that within that time period?
We bring on extra people for those days. Truth be told, a lot of people would be led to believe that it's 24 hours.
Okay.
It's not technically 24 hours. Just somebody who is a responsible person or employee possessor on the license has to be with it and awake at all times.
Okay, so it's just like transportation of it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So when we get that container in, we'll typically get it in before the close of our day that day. We've only once had to stay overnight with it.
Okay.
But yeah, generally rule of thumb is 24 hours, but it's only because nobody wants to stay with it overnight.
Yeah.
But we get it in that day, and then you've got 48 hours to get it logged into your paperwork and everything.
Okay.
And for our inventory and all that stuff. And then if there were any mislabelings and things like that took place on the Chinese side, once we check our EX numbers and our import number, all that stuff, if there's any mislabeling that's done, you've got 15 days to kind of work with the ATF and let them know that you're going to redo that.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So.
Cool. And then, and this is a hot conversation right now. Within the industry, it's April 5th, 6th?
9th.
April 9th. It's April 9th. Tariffs and everything.
Oh, yeah.
How is this affecting your business? How is it going to affect pricing this year? Were you guys early, so it's not worried about it? How are you guys approaching this situation?
And we've kept in contact with a few other companies about it, companies that we're close to. And that's another nice thing about the firework community is most people are pretty in touch with each other. We stay in touch with, RKM and Lynch and these other places that we know well. So we do talk to them about some of those things. Everybody's getting affected by it. Luckily, they came a little bit later in the year, so most of our product was in. We're very well stocked. Most of those things aren't going to get affected very much. You'll see a little bit of a percent increase on a few of those things. So most companies now have basically stopped their shipments. Said, hey, put them on pause, don't ship them right now because of this tariff stuff. And so those things that are paused, we'll wait to see what's going to happen with these tariffs. But the products that we have in right now, you'll see a little bit of an increase, a very small percentage of increase, just to help cover a couple of the containers that slipped through that are getting some tariff put on them.
For sure.
But then when stuff comes in, if the tariffs remain on it, you'll see stuff go up as you have to cost average things. I got 200 cases of this in, I got another 100 case, we're going to have to cost average some of that stuff. We eat some of it, the customer has to take some of it. It's not a good situation.
Yeah, but it's nice to where if you have, just pure example, 5,000 pieces and 500 of them got tariffed, you dollar cost average that across everything. You see a small percentage instead of a giant. So that way, if you do want Jekyll and Hyde, that didn't have tariffs, exorcism, you really want exorcism, in that case, that kit cost them $500, they both just cost $250.
Right.
So that's awesome that you guys are doing it that way, and I certainly would think that's the right approach.
Yeah, I don't see any other way to do it, and not, one, be fair to people who are wanting those other things that came in at the higher price, because right now it's 104%. Well, no, 125%. It just went to today immediately.
Yep.
So you got that's got it on it. This is going to be out of the price range. Plus, we'll get wiped out on this other stuff, and you'll have people buying things that maybe they didn't really want.
Yep.
So to cost average those things out is about the only way we can do it, in hopes that the tariff stuff, the conversation over the last week, obviously it's moving fast.
Yes.
I mean, it's going up. All this stuff. So I can't imagine that at some point here, as fast as things are moving, they're both going to say, let's talk about this.
No matter what side of the aisle you're on, we're all sitting here hoping that this comes to a very quick agreement here, because it would be very tough to sustain this, especially within our industry. A lot of places, they can outsource to other places possibly. Fireworks, there's no outsourcing.
Right.
I mean, minimally, maybe 1% of the fireworks maybe come from a different place in the world other than China.
Right.
And the other places are extremely expensive as well.
Well, it's the percentage. The APA actually came out with those last week, I believe. 85%.
85% of fireworks.
All of them.
85% of 1.3 comes from China, and 90-some% of 1.4 comes from China.
I figured it was up in that 90s.
Yeah.
Yep.
And for shooters like yourselves, just because tariffs are implemented doesn't mean that your budget is going to grow.
Right.
So the town will set that budget for you, or the venue, and you're kind of stuck with that. So we really want to try to keep our prices as low as possible for people like you guys.
Well, I can tell you we certainly appreciate that, because everything we do is, the quality of your show is based off of budget, right? You can only do so much, and there's profit margins and there's costs that go into it, right? So you give a certain percentage of product of the budget. Well, if the product costs you 100% more, that means they're getting half the amount of product to maintain the same percentage that they would have initially gotten a month ago. So that's a massive impact within the display industry.
Absolutely, and it looks bad on the display shooter.
For sure.
It looks like you didn't try as hard, but you spent the same budget.
Literally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and that could mar your company, right? That person didn't shoot a very good show. I don't want to rehire them.
For sure. So, or you've shot for them for 5 years and they're going, what the heck happened?
What happened?
I gave you the same budget. This isn't even close to what you had. But I also think that's where we have to be very transparent with the customers about said thing, and that's that communication, calling your customers up and being, hey, this is what we're facing. We're going to have a slight difference because maybe we ordered early, but upcoming next year, if it's a later booked show, this is what we're going to be facing. So, yeah. And I think that just also goes to, and I'm going to put this little jab out there, always book your shows early, because that allows us to get our product in inventory early. And when stuff like this happens, your show's already sitting there and done. You don't have to worry about this. But if you held out and we have to buy higher product, book them early.
Absolutely.
Well, should we grab some product here?
Yep. What you're going to see is what we print out. It's called a full sheet for our guys. And our guys get this clipboard.
Okay.
And it goes down your order. It gives you the specific part number that we're looking for, a description of that item, the total weight that you're going to have for those products, and how many of total quantity that you ordered. So these, our team will take this pull sheet and we'll go find the specific magazine that's listed out on here.
Yep.
Through our inventory system, and then we'll go to that mag and we'll find that product and pull it out,
Okay.
send it back to the shop, ready to go.
Awesome. And I want to point this cake out because this is mine, correct?
That's
Yep.
correct.
So, as much as, you know, country kid growing up in the middle of nowhere, kind of got a little metalhead side. And believe it or not, Five Finger Death Punch stuff, like, not literally, that's not Five Finger Death Punch, but stuff that's related to some of their music, I have found in Pyro, and I've been collecting it. And so, if you're watching this video, stay tuned. One of these days, I'm going to collect enough to make a video, and I'm probably going to play some rock music with it or something. So, stay tuned. One day that video will hit when I collect enough of it.
All right, what we after, Gabe?
2 seizure balls in there.
Seizure balls.
Seizure balls. So, did you guys name all of these products?
We did. Yeah.
Okay. So, where did some of these names come from, like seizure balls?
Seizure balls is kind of a, well, we all put in our ideas and made together a big list of, names that we just thought would be neat. Seizure balls, we knew we were looking for something bright with strobes in it that felt like it would give you a seizure. So we had already, we come up with a name, and then we sat down and kind of went through, different cake options and things like that. And we're also able to work with the factory to say, hey, we want you to add a little bit more of this. So we did, get in touch with them and say, hey, we need one that's got really bright strobes of some sort in it, because we knew we had a name for it.
Okay.
So that's where a lot of that stuff, it's so hard with fireworks to, you sit down and they use all these creative names, but very seldom do you look at one and think, oh yeah, that name really describes that. It's
Sure.
just, the names mean nothing. They're just eye-catching.
Especially in the 1-4 world, when you're sitting on a stand, the names most of the time do not match anything to do with the cake.
Right. But we've got a few that actually go along with it. For instance, we've got another one named Grimace. And for those people that remember the old Ronald McDonald stuff with the big purple Grimace, so it shoots all purple. It's a crazy cake that makes a big round pattern. So we have some of them that are kind of named after things that they actually make sense with what they do. But other than that, they're just creative names that we think will grab people's attention.
That's actually cool because most people don't ever get to know that stuff. And so I think that's actually a really cool little piece that I find interesting about stuff like this.
But no, they're all names from stuff that people here have kind of created, or a customer will throw a name or something at us.
Okay.
You got a promotion here, so you're stepping it up to our article line.
Okay.
Our pro line.
Yeah, you are shooting articles and not just the pro line stuff, or not just the consumer grade.
Yeah,
stuff.
so since we haven't touched on that, we touched on it a little bit. What I would like somebody that's an importer that creates fireworks, has the ability to import articles versus 1.4 Pro. Can you actually explain the differences in all of the different categories, but really specifically the difference between the 1.4 Pro and the articles? I know there's a lot of misinformation out there in the world on that particular subject right now.
I mean, you can go deep into that conversation, but for the sake of your video, I'll hit the highlights of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the one the regular consumer brand, consumer product, you can go up to 500 grams of powder.
Yep.
In any of the case, and then when you get into the pro line, you can go up to 1,000 grams of powder, and you can also go up to the 1 3/4 ball shells. So when you get into the articles, which is like what we're producing, one, you can't have colorful wrappers or anything like that.
Yep.
Like we talked out there in the warehouse, that we're not trying to attract consumer stuff or make anything that you can put on stands. So when we get into the article stuff, that is stuff. If you have a permit for the article pyrotechnics, it's produced in China under the 1.3 regulations. It's exported as 1.3, it imports to us as 1.3, and then under the special DOT permit we've got for article pyrotechnics, we get to relabel it as 1.4.
Okay.
That is a perfect example. If I've got a 1.3 cake that's 3,000 grams, I can go ahead and ask the Chinese distributors to break that into 3 cakes that are 1,000 grams apiece that have linkable fuses. It becomes a compound cake at that point.
Yep.
It still goes into one container or one box. For instance, if this was produced as a 1.3 item and we were going to leave it that way, it would be a 1.1, which means that there would be 1 cake in this box that made 1 cake. What this means is it's 1 box with 4 cakes in it, but those 4 cakes make up 1.
Yep, they can be linked together.
That's correct. So this is 1 cake, but there are 4 different cakes inside of that, all not exceeding 1,000 grams of powder. You link those together, and you've got your commercial cake.
Okay, but it is still a different classification of
It is.
articles versus 1.4 Pro.
It is, and it's a gray area. That's why it's easiest for us to just refer to it as Pro Line.
Yep.
Because that's what makes sense with most people. But there is this gray area between what Pro is and what Article Pyrotechnics is. So most of it has to do with the way that it's imported.
Okay.
Really is what it
And again, that goes back to the Chinese side, not really the U.S. side. That's
Right.
why we're able to relabel it, is because the Chinese have regulation that is different than stateside regulation. So the relabeling, it's permitted, but it's because it falls within our regulations.
Right.
So
And there's so much different opinions, and again, gray areas on the way the regulations are written for pyrotechnic articles versus Pro Line, things like that. So you can get a different opinion from 10 different people. So it's kind of again a gray
basically, if it's something you're thinking of doing, go read up for yourself and
Yes,
actually figure it out on what
absolutely.
you're allowed to do. But that's kind of a breakdown of what this market is moving into and the options we have
Yes.
within the market.
Absolutely. All right, we need two of these.
Two of these. Hopefully I don't have a seizure grabbing it, huh?
Those have got some weight to them.
They have some real weight to them.
Anything else in B, Gabe?
No, sir.
Okay, what we got?
Out of this one,
That is just a
we got
behemoth
3
of
rods
a
and
cake.
Tommy guns.
3 rods,
3 rod, 3
3
Tommy
Tommy
guns.
guns.
Yeah, you want to get a rod.
You
Get
got
a
a
rod? On a rod here.
Okay, have fun with that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Throw it on, I'll write you another check.
No, I think you guys got one.
Yeah, you got one.
I did get one.
Yeah, they're just heavy. Just so you
Oh,
know.
I
okay.
want you to lift it.
Yeah,
What is the weight on these? Holy crap.
Three of those, 3 of these, and
no.
Tommy
I mean, Tommy guns.
3.
3. The weight on those is going to be, the net weight on it's 28 kilograms, so that's going to be 28 times 2.2 is going to be your pounds.
I'll leave it to Garrison to not remember what he orders.
Yeah, we should have shorted him that. He didn't think
Those 2 cakes would have made up for it. Yeah.
You got the first one? You got all 3 of the rods? Okay,
Yep.
I am so thankful for things on 1.4 Pro such as Tommy gun.
Yeah.
Because before we were just getting hosed in the industry to get anything that was noise.
Right.
And to get a salute cake like that, I mean, that was $500 to $1,000 depending on where you were at,
Absolutely.
right? And now this gives a safe legal way for us to get our hands on, and it's cost effective. So
Right.
I tell you what, this has really revolutionized the industry. And so to have people like you guys finding the ways to bring this stuff in, legally get it to people properly, safely, is really a game changer within the industry.
We'll go up, we'll take this, unpack it, we'll have another person inventory it
Okay.
for accuracy, that the ones that didn't pull it, and to make sure that that's right. And then we'll load you up.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Love it.
And Ben's gonna not be happy
Oh, Ben can just stuff
because
it.
we're gonna have to make some graveled areas.
I hope you're recording because that's going to make it you saying Ben can stuff it. So amongst our friend group, we're always picking on each other, cutting on each other. I mean, you'd think we hate each other, right? And so that's something that I've kind of started to, I've always kept it up. It's kind of starting to snip out like some of the not typical stuff that you would release and some of that behind the scenes. That's what
Behind
I was
the
looking
scenes.
at. Behind the scenes
Yeah.
stuff we've started
Just leave the camera rolling. Level up, Ben.
You know, I keep myself in pretty decent shape, and I'm a little out of breath, and that's because those cakes are so heavy. So let's hope that that's a sign of how well they perform, and I think it's gonna be.
All right, take a minute and kind of introduce people here. You can see who we work with. This is Dustin. He's actually my brother-in-law. I'll let you talk to him a little bit. Tell him kind of
Yeah, what
how
do
you
you
came
want?
to be here.
Well, honestly, how I got to be here, Josh caught me. I was having a pretty bad day at my other job, and then, yeah, it just ended up working out. I ended up coming over here. I knew nothing about fireworks whatsoever. I thought this was the same stuff you find in a tent somewhere. I was wrong, and yeah, it's just fun. I mean, who doesn't like to blow stuff up?
Dustin's our haul. He's huge. So when we need something heavy lifted, Dustin's who we go to. So.
Well, I was gonna say it's handy to have them around, especially with, like I said, as much of those cake weight and
Absolutely.
everything.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for helping load and everything, man. By the way, super nice to meet you.
All right, nice.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, Dustin does. He's I think he does a lot of our marketing stuff as well. He helps with social media and videos and things like that. He's helping get pictures of cakes and things online. So he does that, and then Pyro Associate is kind of what he is, but he does a lot of the help with the summer staff and the loading and things like that. This is Malia. She's actually my sister. I'll turn over to her here in a second. She does more than I could even rattle off and say. She does all of our newsletters and our emails and a lot of the order entry when people call in. In fact, if you call in to place an order and stuff, chances are she's probably who's going to answer the phone first. She does a lot of the backdoor stuff that nobody knows that takes place around here.
Really the backbone of everything, huh?
Absolutely. I'll let her tell you how she kind of came to be here.
Josh is persistent, and he's very hard to say no to. And he had asked, he's like, I need some help, and I'm like, I'm not your person right now. I was a teacher. I'm like, this is where I need to be. And 2 years later, I filled in for the person that I sent to him, who was actually my teacher's aide. And she was gone a week in June, which is, super busy season, and I just stayed. So because, again, Josh is persistent. I've always loved working with Josh, and he's creative, and we spin off of each other really well.
Awesome. When you find great people, you can't let them go, right?
That's right. Yeah, you got to snag onto them.
For sure.
So, and this over here, this is Gabe. Gabe's actually my cousin.
Okay. So you were not kidding when you said family-run business.
It is.
Literally.
We've really only got one or two here that aren't actual. Yeah, we've got two that aren't full-on family, but once you get here for a while, they become family. That's for sure.
I think that's kind of the cool part about the pyrotechnics industry is everybody kind of becomes family once you get into it, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, I'm Gabe. I've known Josh basically my whole life. Was kind of around when we started, doing all the fireworks here originally. Definitely found it interesting. What kid doesn't love fireworks? And then got older. Josh offered me a job here. Sure, why not? It's cool. So I started here, and then definitely have grown with it. Very interested. I love all the 1-4 Pro stuff, the articles and all that. Watching that grow into something that people can get that don't have the big ATF certificates and all that kind of stuff. So definitely gotten into that and really enjoy it. And then around here, kind of take care of a little bit of everything. Some of the behind the scenes stuff when we get additional help here in the summer, kind of keep all that running smoothly. So
nice. And again, you were outside helping. So again, thank you so much. It was very nice to meet you, man.
Very nice to meet you.
Yes.
Yeah, Gabe joins in with, he does a lot of our maintenance type things. He's very mechanical minded, can fix about anything that we need done. He also helps with the management of the summer staff and keeping up with the grounds and everything around here. He helps out a lot with the 1.4 and is learning more and more of that. And then he will probably, over time kind of ease into some of the 1.4 stuff as well.
Nice.
So yeah, big asset to have around here, exceptional young man. This is Cohen. Cohen is not true family, but he is family. So.
Well, Cohen, former Navy. I just recently retired from Naval Surface Warfare Center Crane as a project manager up there. Josh called me up one night and due to the Trump buyouts, the reduction of federal workforce, I took that deal and wasn't absolutely not looking for a job, but Josh called me up, had an employee leave pretty quick, and he asked me if I knew of anybody that was interested in this position. And I immediately thought of my brother. I was actually going to recommend him for the position, and my wife was like, well, what about you? And so it kind of dinged on me, like, it would be a good fit. I love Josh. I love what he has going on here and all the employees here. They're awesome people. And so we had a few discussions, and before I know it, he's looped me in.
So, well, you were with us the whole ride and everything, and it was a pleasure meeting you, and excited to work with you guys and do some more, and be in contact with you this morning. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, Cohen's a huge asset to what we do here. He's got we're very excited about what he's bringing. You know, a bit of a learning curve, as we all have when we get into the fireworks stuff.
For sure.
But he's catching on quick. Coming in kind of a crazy time here with the tariffs and all that stuff going on, but he's picking up very quick on the 1-4 stuff, and he's going to be a huge asset. Very positive guy, so brings with him a good positive attitude for the growth and stuff that we're going for around here. Excellent with customers. So yeah, people should look forward to working with him.
And that's huge, having that positivity around, man. That negative stuff, it's infectious, man. It just poisons the air. So having that around, that's awesome.
Yep.
That's cool.
This is Laura. She does all of our financial stuff. This is our CFO. We snagged her away. I'll let her tell you about that.
So I am in the banking industry. I'd actually worked at the credit union, and that's how I knew mostly everybody here. Josh comes in, I think he was looking at just kind of revamping, taking over stuff on the financial side of things here, looking for somebody to come in and take that spot. And so he says, what's it gonna take to get you here? I said something random like weekends off or whatever, and he says done, and I'm like, oh, we're serious. And then as you'll see a common theme here, Josh is very persistent. I actually turned the job down at first, and then maybe not even a couple days later, he walks into my office at my job and slams the door shut and is like, okay, what's it gonna take? So now I'm here. I knew absolutely nothing about fireworks before I started in here other than they go off on the 4th of July. But I have learned so much, and it is such a unique industry, and now I'm all in on it, all of it.
That's super cool. That's super cool to have that dynamic. I think a lot of times you see where people typically have some background in the history or in the industry come in, and so to pull somebody that has no background, that's really cool. We didn't get to see as much, but it was very nice to meet you. And yes, look forward to seeing you guys again. And then the man, the one that started everything. I guess where's your history with it? How far back does it go? And where did the transition come when you said, 2017, so it wasn't that long ago.
Right.
What was the decision behind it? Why did you do it? What made you inside, I guess, want to make this change into the fireworks industry to make it a full-time thing like this?
Sure. Well, like I say, I started shooting shows and stuff probably in the very early 2000s. It had always been an interest of mine. You do it as a kid, you're shooting bottle rockets at each other, things like that that you shouldn't be doing. Yeah,
we never did stuff like that.
Absolutely. And then, so it was kind of we already had the business here, not this customer waiting area and stuff that you see here. We added on this specifically for the pyrotechnics customers that come here. A lot of times you end up waiting with the ATF license and stuff. We don't pull that stuff ahead of time.
Yep.
So we've added this area on, but used to the rest of the building and stuff was here because we had a construction company. I started building houses and stuff right out of college. And so we already had kind of a facility, so it was a natural kind of progression into we had the land, we had areas to do it. Bell Pyrotechnics is who I used to buy all of my products from, which a lot of our customers are familiar with. They were around for years. Mm-hmm. But then happened to be over there picking up a show from them and just jokingly was asking if they were going to retire. They did say that actually they had already sold the business, and I was disappointed by that and told them not as much, that I very disappointed. I thought that might be a good fit. And a couple weeks later they called, things weren't going to work out with whoever was buying the company. So we didn't actually buy the company, we bought out the product. Carter Bell still, he kept the business name Bell Pyrotechnics because he does a gun shop.
Okay.
So he kept that, and we went ahead and spun off Wisley Pyrotechnics, and he helped us for about a year make sure that we knew all the ATF regulations and what we were doing, which I already had my ATF license at that point, but then we transitioned it into an importer license. And
to the process in itself.
It was, and it was a huge learning curve for me. I mean, being the guy that shoots the stuff off isn't near what I thought I was getting into with having to learn all the rules and regulations and all that stuff, and it's just grown from there, and it's been exciting to learn more about how the industry works and be able to design some of our own cakes and our own lines and those type of things, and it turned into something bigger, and now we've pretty much stopped doing any of the construction stuff, and we are, all 6 of the people that you just met, we're all full-time pyrotechnic now, and that's what we do. So we look forward to continuing to grow and interacting with our customers.
It's so cool. It's so cool to see the passion and how it derives from such a young age. A lot of times you see that, right?
Yes.
And what it can morph into, even added later on in life. This is probably not something you saw yourself doing 20 years ago, or maybe longer, right? And so to have that passion come full circle into something like this, that's incredible to see, and that's what the industry I feel was built on. and continues to be built on. So to continue to see that come in new people, that's really, really cool.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
sir, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for showing me around, showing us around, everybody, everything. You guys have an amazing crew here.
Thank you.
And very, very excited to work with you guys and just shoot your product this year. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this video. I do have to give a quick shout out to Heidi, who you guys have seen a little bit of, but she was the one holding the camera. Got to say thank you, Allison. They made this 19-hour drive down here with me. So thank you, ladies. All right, back at home after CobraCon and going down to Wisley's and picking this stuff up and touring that place. I tell you what, fabulous people. We had a spectacular time meeting them. Great products. Like I said, Ben and I have seen their product at NFA and it did not disappoint. Excited to see again here at home in person, not that far away, from the firework, kind of really get a taste for it. These were the fireworks that you saw they gave us. These 2 sprinkled donuts, they know that I love ring shells. So to have them give us these was just kind of special. I don't know. I thought it was super cool and excited to see these again. I think we're going to angle them a little bit and fire them at the same time, kind of get that double ring going on. I think it's going to be really, really cool. Fabulous cake. Can't wait to see it again. This baby. This is one of the ones we bought. This one weighed an absolute ton. It's called Rod. I think it has like 1.5 minutes, 2 minute duration somewhere in there. I don't remember exactly. Like I said, figured let's shoot one off for you guys. Let's see one here at home. Really, really excited to see this in person. I know Heidi and the kids and everybody else have not seen this product. So yeah, really, really excited to see this. And they have their demo coming up still. So they got rained out actually. So they had to reschedule it. So keep an eye out for that. It's a great time there. They have all sorts of stuff for the family. And like I said, lots of fireworks. So go ahead, check that out. Check out their website and get some product from them. It's really good stuff. So let's get these in the air and see how they actually perform. Finally dark. Let's see these babies in action. Don't they? Just careful. Love ring cakes. All right, last but not least, the grand finale. I tell you what, I'm so excited to see this. Rod. On it. Wow, it is loud. Oh yeah. Does it seem to be getting bigger as it goes on? Slightly. Yeah. Brakes seem like that bigger. Color is very vibrant. Decent height.
Got good consistency.
Very much. That green is right. There we go. Yeah.
Wow.
Anna, wow,
Bedford-
total brain fart.
Bedford, Indiana.
Bedford, Indiana. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.